Industrious, well-organized Proverbs 31 Woman is a workshop that is changing women's lives and the appearance of their homes. Sydney Longdare has over 20 years' experience as an interior designer, antique dealer, and organizational consultant. She shares a spiritual approach to cleansing your heart and a practical approach to organizing your home. And now, here's Sydney Longdare.
Well, I want to welcome you to the Industrious, well-organized Proverbs 31 woman class again. I get all emotional, that's silly, because I think I have my daughter up here, that's why. This is Mackenzie, and she's in the making of a Proverbs 31 woman one day, huh? Okay, why don't you go down? She was so nervous. She practiced before she came in. We first came in, we were the first ones in here, and she came up and she goes, okay, I'm just going to practice, Mom. She comes up here and she goes like this, and then she goes sit down and come back up and just to practice. It was cute. Thank you for the recipes. You don't know what this is great. I didn't think you'd take me up on it. So how did you do with your kitchens this week? Yeah? Were they good? Some of you, I heard, spent days doing your kitchen. Bless your heart. That's a lot of work, I know. Is your biffer pile getting bigger and bigger? Yeah, it's amazing, huh? How many of you are starting to give tours of your cupboards? I know. Or your husbands are giving tours of his closet now to his employees. We've heard of this happening already, and we think, wow, isn't that funny? You know, because before when you say, you know, for people to come in your house, you show them your house, and then you're just like stand in front of your closets, because you don't want them to ask what's in there. And now it's like, and this is my linen closet, and this is where my baking center is, you know. And they're going, oh yeah, it's funny. We have a couple announcements to make before we get started. Someone is being given a microwave. You raise your hand. Who's getting given a microwave? She said that she was going to be here this week, but she cannot. She'll bring your microwave next week. And I'm really glad that you're starting to minister to the women in this group here, because we all have needs, and if we're going to get rid of something, let's go ahead and bless a person who needs those things. All right, if you want to open your Bibles to Proverbs 31, verses 16 through 18. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. Verse 17, she sets about her work vigorously, for her arms are strong for her tasks. Verse 18, she sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In these verses, we see that Lady Wisdom is portrayed as a very shrewd businesswoman, making wise investments out of her earnings. Again, we are seeing that she is a hard worker. She has a willing heart to do whatever it takes that is required of her, and doing whatever it takes to help out her family. In the Bible, a vineyard is sometimes considered a garden. So perhaps she planted a garden, or it's a vineyard. Either way, she did this so that she could bless her family with providing crops for her family. And if she had any excess, as was custom in the day, they would have taken the excess and gone to market, and they would have done trading with it for the things that she did need. Or she would have sold the excess and would have helped the family financially with the extra crops that she had. So she is using her talents to help her family financially as well. Though it is the husband's, ultimately it is the husband's responsibility to provide for the family, it is not the wives. We need to look at this. A lot of times we get this all kind of backwards, and sometimes we have husbands that want to stay at home and wives want to work. You know, if you pray about that and you consider that, and that's what the Lord's leading to you, that's fine. But ultimately, it is the husband's responsibility to provide for the family. I know that there's going to be some exceptions to this too for some of you that are single moms and you need to go out and work and provide for your family, or perhaps your husband's disabled and all of a sudden that responsibility falls on you. So there are many times when we may need to contribute to our family financially. If this is the case, and we still need to make sure that our families are our priority over our work. If we do not, our families can suffer because we are not meeting their needs. We need to make sure that we are wives and moms first above our work. You are not replaceable. I know a lot of times we send our kids off to the sitters, we go to send them off to daycare, we get a nanny, and we think we're replaceable. We think that we're finding somebody that's responsible to take care of our kids, but let me tell you, you are not replaceable by going off to work and giving someone else your responsibility to take care of your kids. If you ask your kids who would they rather have, they would rather much have you than that person that you put them in charge of. Oftentimes, women go to work and they can become unsettled inside simply because they have far too much stuff to do, and they want to do what they are doing well. Their desire is to do all that they do well. You want to be successful at your job. You want to be a good wife. You want to be a good mom. You want to still keep your home running well. You want to still provide food for your family, and plus all the extras. And your plate can be really full for those of you who are working outside of the home. I understand. I know for doing this ministry now and also homeschooling, all of a sudden it's giving me a real perspective of a woman who works and is really busy and her plate is full, because I am juggling so many different things, and all of a sudden it's giving me a new compassion for women that do work, because I know it is hard. I'm finding it, I'm getting up earlier, I'm going to bed later, I'm having to be way more efficient now, and I want to do it all still very well, but something's going to give. And usually what gives is our relationship with our family. And so we need to be really careful about this kind of thing. If you're a working mom, you need to go and pray and ask the Lord, is this what I'm to be about? Because a lot of times we go and work because we want those temporal things. We want those possessions. Because we are the I want it now society. And so we go and we say, I'm going to get a job because I want that nice car now. I want that good house now, at the sacrifice of our families. And we don't realize how damaging that can be to them. And we think that we're fulfilling something within ourselves, but really, it's not doing you any good at all. We need to be thinking about what's eternal. Your family is eternal. Your children are eternal. If you are working for that extra finances, that is for temporal things, and you really need to prayerfully ask the Lord, is this what you have for me to do? Again, your children are for you to enjoy. They are somebody that the Lord has given you. They are the blessing for you. You are responsible for them, so don't turn them over to someone else just because you want to work. We live in a world of compromise. We sometimes look around and we say, well, Sally Mae, Christian Sally Mae is working, and, she sends her kids to the daycare, and I really respect her. And so I think, well, that must be fine for me to do. Don't look at Sally Mae. Don't look at the Christian women around you. You need to look at what God is saying to you individually. You need to look at His Word. What is your role in your home? And He will tell you. We must not look at each other. There are 9 verses out of Proverbs 31 that speaks about the woman working in the home, that she is about her business in the home, taking a good care of her home. And so we need to look at that. I don't think the Bible says women cannot work, but it does talk a lot about us working in the home more than anything else. It talks about us being busy at home, watching over the affairs of her household and her family. We need to put our efforts to what is lasting and eternal. And you will reap the blessing of this. There are blessings when you do this, when you work at home and not out. A lot of times when we get this I want it now attitude, it can tear apart our families in a very subtle way and we don't realize it. What happens, Dad starts working those extra hours because he's trying to provide those things that you said that you wanted that are extra. And then all of a sudden he's working the weekends. And so what happens, he's tired now. So he's not spending the quality time that he once did with your family. And so then all of a sudden Mom is working, and society is telling you, hey, go get your own identity. Your role as a mom, your identity, your title as a mom is not good enough, which is not true. We know that's not true at all. Kids come home to empty houses wishing their moms or dads were there. They plop themselves down in front of the TV because nobody else is home. And what is this? Their substitute role model, that TV. And we all know that's not what we want our kids to be thinking about. Everyone is busy doing their own thing, becoming independent from one another. Is this protecting the unity of the family? The family unit has become not our priority in our day and age. It's not a priority like it once was. So why is this changing? Why are we seeing such a change in our society towards thinking that it's totally okay for moms just to go out and work and all of a sudden the family has to do something different? Why the change? I think the change is simply because our priorities are not in line. I know it sounds like a hard thing to say, and I think, oh Lord, do I have to share this? But you know, it's a day and age where we need to look not at our society, what it tells us. Once again, we need to look at what the Word says and what is God expecting us as women to be and what our roles are. I'm like you. Many times I asked Lord, I want to go out and work. Because I came from a family that's very business-minded, and there was a time in my life that the Lord asked me to lay that down. And He said, if you do this, Sydney, you're to lay it down, and it has lasting consequences. And I said, really, Lord? And I knew what that meant. I knew that I'd probably never go into business, and yet I was groomed for it all my growing up years. It took me about a week to really say, okay, Lord, I really knew. I wanted to make sure that what I was committing to, that I'd be obedient to what He told me then. But there's been times that I've asked the Lord, can I just go and do a little bit of business? Can I just go buy an old vintage home and fix it up and sell it? I love doing that. The Lord says, Sydney, it's not the season for you. And that, my heart kind of thinks, bummer, because I would like to do that. I think, I could bring my kids along and we could just demolish it together and I'll get my own crew. But the Lord says, no, that's not the season for you. Right now, you're a mom. I was married 11 years before I had kids, so I had a lot of time to go and play and do a lot of things and have lots of different careers. And so it kind of gets in you and you kind of still want that excitement. Cleaning the same toilets and doing the same laundry doesn't seem to be as exciting. And so you kind of want that stimulus to get out there, or that, instead of saying, I'm a mom, you want to have this identity thing to give yourself a title. I mean, don't you love it when you get when you're around groups and everybody goes around and says who they are? And I purposely always say, I'm a mom. And they, oh, honey, that's okay. And they pat my hand. And I think, isn't that interesting? That if I said I was a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, they would just go, oh, isn't that great? But when I say I'm a mom, they don't have the same excitement for it. And yet, really, our positions as moms and wives are the most exciting position that we possibly could have. So, it might not be a season for you to work. Ask the Lord, is it the time for me to work? And just because we think, our kids are not preschoolers or they're not, they're not young anymore, they're now 13 and 14, does not mean that those kids don't need you at home. My mom went to work when I was 14. She was at home all the time, and when she went to work when I was 14, that devastated me. If there was a time that I needed my mom the most, was when I was 14, because I was a young woman, had lots of questions, though I had a really close-knit family. I wanted it when I came home to see my mom there, talk about my day, talk about my peer pressure, whatever it was, just that comforting feeling that my mom was there for me. And so it's not just they need you when you're little. I might be stepping on toes, but this is just what I felt to share with you. And so we need to really look about all this. Let's talk about helping financially. What are the many ways that we can help without working outside the home? Or perhaps you could work while your kids are at school, whatever. I'm not trying to step on your toes. I'm just saying prayerfully go before the Lord and make sure that what you are doing and what you're about right now is blessed of the Lord and He sees it right for you. That's what I'm basically saying. There are many ways we can help, again, without working outside the home, like our stewardship. Stewardship is the act of managing that which you have, like your household, and managing all your responsibilities. So let's look at some of the ways that we can be good stewards. We can be wise with the purchases we make for our household. That is part of being a good steward. We can look for good value when we purchase clothing for our family. A lot of times we have lots of clothes. We have almost too many clothes, like we talked about in the first week. We have 1, 2, 3 closets full of clothes, and we're still not satisfied with that many clothes. So, and then you really want, and then I don't know about you, I cleaned out my closet again this week, and I thought, oh, why am I cleaning my closet again? And I got rid of tons of them, and my husband goes, that doesn't look good on you. And I said, I just bought this, you know. Why don't you tell me when I bought it? And I think, I can't get rid of this. I spent good money for it. And then I had to go back in my notes and think, oh, what did I say to myself? What did I Mark goes, you better do what you said to them. But I wonder, why do I feel like I have to have more clothes? So we need to be wise with our purchases. Also, we need to not confuse what we need with what we want. If your finances are tight, I know that when my finances are tight, boy, I need to stay away from the antique shops. I love antiquing with a passion. It's one of the most soothing things to me just to go and wander through the junk stores. I don't know why. And but if my finances are tight, I need to be careful about the thing, where I go, so I don't put myself in tempting positions. Be faithful to a budget if you are on one. Be trustworthy and dependable if your husband tells you to cut back on your spending. Do it with a good attitude. How about financial pressure can be really a stress to our marriages, so it's important. It's not worth the stress. Don't go there. If you're under financial pressure, cut back. We can add more pressure on our marriage by being, Susie, buy one more thing. So we need to learn to say no when we know that we should. If you have kids, remember those little eyes are watching you, and especially if your husband has said, honey, I want you to cut back on your spending, and then you go to the store with your kids and you buy that one more thing, and they're thinking in their own head, why did Mom buy that thing? Because I just heard Dad say we need to cut back. And that's really, they're watching your motives, they're watching your actions, and they're thinking, is Mom being honest to Dad? So this is a training ground for your kids. They're watching all those things. Teach them to be wise and responsible with money. Do their spouses a favor and teach your kids this when they get the spouses later. How about making good use of what you do have, like Lady Wisdom? If you cannot show responsibility for what you do have, how can we expect to ask God for more? Like we say, God, give me that bigger and better house like we talked about, and then yet we don't take good care of it. Whether you're in a rental or you're in your own home, take good care of it. Show God that you are responsible for what He has given you. How about cutting back on some services that we could do, like we could do ourselves and not necessarily have those services do them for us. If you're financially tight, there's lots of ways you could cut back. Wash your own car, mow your own grass, get a housekeeper. Don't let the housekeeper come and do your house. You clean it yourself, or cut your family's hair. That can save you lots of money by cutting their hair. There's lots of ways to take care of that. And it takes practice, I know. Mark and I, when we first got married, he wanted us to move to Alaska. And he wanted us to play the Jeremiah Johnson thing like really early in our marriage. And so he had me reading this book called Wilderness Wife. And bless his heart. I read that thing. Well, one of the things that she did was cut his hair. And so I learned to cut Mark's hair. And I'm thankful that I had that opportunity to do that, because that really taught me to go beyond what I thought I could do, and also it taught me to, it was a special time that we could sit and talk while we're cutting his hair, and we've saved lots of money. I've cut my kids' hair. Everybody cuts each other's hair. In fact, Mackenzie cut my hair the other day, and took quite a bit off, but we got through it. Oh. I told her, I said, just cut that much, and so then the line was up like this, and then we had to cut it again. But we did it, Mackenzie? We're just practicing early. How about getting out of debt? Being good stewards of our finances. The Bible clearly states and tells us not to owe no man anything. We are a charge card society, and what do? We just spend, because, again, we want it now. We don't want to wait. And then what do we end up having to do? Borrow. And then all of a sudden we've got this huge debt, and now we've got pressure. Now our husbands feel that stress. Now they have to work more. It just rolls into a big, huge situation. If spending is a difficult thing for you and you are in major debt, I want to challenge you to take out your credit cards and cut them up. Sometimes that's the way to deal with it, because if you cannot control yourself, just take those puppies out and cut them up. And just get yourself in control until you find that you are in a disciplined place again, and then you could get more credit cards and start again until you get that debt gone. Because that debt's a pressure to you. But our society once again says it's okay. But it's not. The Bible tells us different. And if we're living our life according to what God says is best for us, then we need to look at His Word. How about being content? The stewardship of our heart attitude. In Philippians 4:11-13, it says, I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through Him who gives me strength. It is important for us to be content with what we have. We need to choose contentment. Contentment sometimes just does not happen. Sometimes we have to make that choice to be content. Paul, the author of Philippians, was content. The key was because of his relationship with Christ. He felt fulfilled. Focus on eternal things. It will bring contentment to you. And allow God to bless you with whatever He wants to give you, but choose contentment and choose eternal things. How about the stewardship of your time? We can think, well, what is time? We have plenty of it. Do you spend your time wisely? Do you give your time to others in need? Do you take time to encourage other people by letters or notes, just to kind of drop them a note and say, hey, I'm thinking about you? How about your kids? Are you spending enough time with them? How about your husband? Are you spending more time with him? Do you spend enough time listening to their hearts? Or are you just too busy with too much on your plate? Too busy with what? Again, eternal things or temporal? We need to seriously think about the way we spend our time. I think that it is interesting how we all say, there is just not enough time in my day. That's a common thing I hear constantly. But where do you spend your time? Let me ask you, how much time do you watch the TV? They say that the average person watches hours of TV every day. Is it really that good for you? I mean, sure, there's programs on there that are good, but there's a lot on there that's not good, and we sit there and watch it. Is it that good for your children? Are the role models that they see on TV really making them into godly kids? Into kids that you're proud of? Do you agree with the principles it teaches them or you? I only ask this because about 16 years ago, I sat down and I asked the Lord, show me how you think about the TV. How do you feel about it? I mean, we spend a lot of time watching TV. How do you feel about it? And this is what the Lord impressed upon my spirit. I share this out of testimony. I don't find it that easy to share with you because this is something that's very personal to me, and I don't really go around talking about it. But when I wrote this class, the Lord made it very clear that this is to be said, so this is what He said. You put your TV up on a table in your room, and all the furniture wraps around it, so all can gaze and watch it, taking a prominent place in your home, just like an idol. You give it your undivided attention hours a day. You say to me, Lord, I just do not have enough time for you. But what are you doing? Sydney, what are you saying to me? But there you sit, watching your TV hours a day. Sydney, would you let someone come into your home and blaspheme my name? And I said, no, God, I would not. I would never want to hear someone blaspheme your name in my home. I want my home to honor you, Lord. But you do. The TV blasphemes my name in your home all the time. Sydney, would you allow a couple to come into your home and have intimate gestures on your couch while you and your husband sit there and watch them? I said, no, Lord, I would not. That is totally private. That is not for my eyes to see. But your TV does, and you sit there and watch. You watch those things that are never meant for your eyes to see. Sydney, would you let someone come into your home and be violent and out of control? No, God, I would not. My home is a place of physical refuge, and I want it to be a place of peace. But your TV does. I went to my husband and I told Mark what the Lord had showed me, because it was a hard word. The reality of it was truth. I never thought of it that way. I never looked at my TV that way. After much prayer and talking about it, it was a hard decision, but we got rid of our TV. It didn't seem like an option to us anymore. Not because our life was out of control and I was watching that much TV. To be honest with you, I didn't think Little House on the Prairie was too bad or any of those programs I was watching, but to be really honest with you, things that we want to fast forward, do we really fast forward them? Do we sit there and watch them and think, well, we're just going to get through this part? Watching intimate gestures on a couch, it's just like having someone in your home. You would never sit there and watch someone do that on your couch across from you. Never. But your TV does, and what does it do? It taints your sexual bed. It taints your bed at home. You watch the things on TV what someone else does, and then you go home, or you're at home, and it defiles your bed. God never intended for your bed to be defiled by the things that you would watch someone else to do. Your homes are a place of physical refuge. They need to glorify the Lord. You wouldn't allow your kids to blaspheme God's name. Why would you allow the TV to blurt that out into your room? Or be violent? and watch your kids do destructive things only for them to play act it out. What are we thinking? So we got rid of it. I have to tell you that my life is different. It's been about 16 years I have not had a TV. People come into my home, thanks. It's a hard word to give to you because it's not a popular word, but you know what? We don't think about it being an option to us. We don't think about it how it defiles our home or defiles us and how we think. People come into my home, they say, you know what? Your home feels so peaceful. And I just smile. For one, I ask the Lord to make it a place of peace. But two, I know there's nothing defiling it. And then after they kind of walk through, they always make comment, well, you don't have a TV. I don't even think about the TV anymore. It's been so long since I've had one. And that's not to say that we don't watch TV. Grandma lives down the street and she has a TV in every single room, I think even in the laundry room. Not really, but I'm always teasing her about it. I say, I think you need one for your laundry room too, Mom. I'm just teasing her, but you know, and that's how much I don't want to say, hey, you've got to do this, because you don't want to take your TV now and go put it in the biffer pile, because your husband's not going to be happy with that. He's going to say, you can't go to that class anymore, and I don't want that to happen. But, you know, we do other things now. We go on walks. We have a big art studio. We have time to be together. We read books. We listen to the Olympics on the radio. We make, you know, my kids are not without TV. They go to grandma's once in a while, so they're not like strange. But, you know, I can see. You know, but it's just the fact that my own home, I just think what the Lord has showed us. And so I just want to encourage you as an option. Your TV's an option. Just because society says everybody has one does not mean that you have to have it. So I just give it out of testimony. I'm not trying to make you get rid of your TV. It's just something that the Lord told me I'm to say. In Psalms 101, verses 2 through 7. Now think about this in the light of the TV, so you think about what I'm saying here. I will be careful to lead a blameless life. When will you come to me? I will walk in my house with a blameless heart. I will set before my eyes no vile thing. The deeds of faithless men I hate. They will not cling to me. Men of perverse heart shall be far from me. I will have nothing to do with evil. Whoever slanders his neighbor in secret, him will I put to silence. Whoever has haughty eyes and a proud heart, him will I not endure. My eyes will be on the faithful in the land, that they may dwell with me. He whose walk is blameless will minister to me. No one who practices deceit will dwell in my house. No one who speaks falsely will stand in my presence. Your homes are for a sanctuary. They're supposed to be your physical place of refuge, a place of peace, not defiled or tainted. There is one more measure that I take to make sure that my home is undefiled. I often pray and ask the Lord, Lord, is there anything in my home that I need to get rid of that is not good? Coming from my background, I had an antique shop for 20 years, and I'm constantly bringing stuff home that I did not know the origin of it. And when I prayed this, because I was thinking about how God told the Israelites, don't bring the plunder back into your tents. You will defile your tents with the idols of the other people and their idols of the land that they were conquering. Do not defile your tents with their things. So I I ask the Lord, what is defiling my home, God? Is there anything in my home that defiles it? He has showed me, one time I had a Masonic-based chair, and I had to get rid of it. Or I had an object, a souvenir that I brought back from another country that had an ancient god on it. It was defiling my home. And we can take this lightly and think, oh yeah, but I'm telling you, it makes a difference. The tent of your home needs to be undefiled. Pray and ask the Lord, is there anything in my tent that is defiling it? And he'll put something in your mind, you'll think, oh, that's crazy. That's not really true. He will tell you. I was given a brooch by some woman that I did not know. And when I took it, I had that feeling inside that I should not have received it. And I thought, well, this is a cool antique brooch. And I kept it, even though I had that uncomfortable, uneasy thing. This is the thing that I'm trying to encourage you. Listen to what the Holy Spirit is telling you, because he'll tell you if you will listen. And I wasn't listening because I wanted to keep it. So a couple months went by, and I thought, Lord, I need to pray and ask you if there's anything in my home that defiles it. And the Lord showed me. You have that brooch that I showed you that you were to get rid of, Sydney. I let you know, but you didn't listen. And so I got rid of it. God wants us to believe in what he's telling us. We want to hear what he's saying. His voice will gently lead us if we will follow and listen and be obedient to what he says. You might need to get rid of some books. You might know that there's some pornography in your home that's very defiling in your home. Sometimes our TVs are used as pornography, used with pornography that we use it. We need to look at the Bible clearly says if something is causing you to sin, get rid of it. If you cannot control this area in your life, you might need to take drastic measures to get that right in your life. Pornography is just not for men. It's an epidemic with women as well. And we need to get serious about the sin in our life that we know that we have in our life. God is calling us to a place of righteousness. Are we going to go there? We are called not to be of this world. We are called to be holy and righteous, living a blameless life. So it is important that in all that we see, all that we hear, and all that we do glorifies the Lord. Why don't we take a break? I've always wondered about if I went to the restroom and I forgot to turn this thing off, if you guys could hear me. I thought that would be so like me to do. So if I ever do it, you'll just know what I do in there. Oh, that's terrible. So I hold this thing so I know. Okay, we're going to talk about interior design concept. Your home reflects you, your personality, and your interests. So what is your style? Some of you know exactly what your style is, and some of you are still trying to discover it. There are many different styles. Are you casual or are you formal? Are you rustic or refined? Are you traditional or contemporary? Are you clean and sassy or eclectic? Or do you just have your own look, which is probably the best kind of style? Your unique way of looking at what you like, how you want it to be, is probably the very best style. I always suggest to clients to look through several magazines before we get started on a job so that they can determine what their style is. I tell them to go through magazines, pull out your colors that you like, pull out the furniture styles, positions of the furniture in a room, drapes you like, anything that you like, pull it out and let's put it together and analyze it and see really where are you leaning towards, because this will clarify something for you so that you know how to create this look if that's what you're wanting to go for. One thing I do before I go to a job, I don't really work that much anymore. I better not after telling you all that. Oh, I know, you're probably wondering that. I try not to interfere with my family at all. Before, when my kids went off to school, I'd take on interior decorating jobs, but now that I'm homeschooling, I really virtually don't take any. Plus, this is my heart now, Proverbs 31. I love this. I have done so many different things in my life. I've got to tell you, this is the most exciting thing that I've ever done in my life, is to do this class and overcome my fear of getting up here. I mean, every Tuesday, it's like I spend most of my time in the loo, and I don't look at when I get up here, but I do, and I think, Lord, is this ever going to change? I mean, every Tuesday, I'm just history. But I know it's what God has me to do, and it's a blessing for me to do this. But when I have taken on interior jobs before, I go and I pray to the Lord first thing before I ever go to the job. Because God is the ultimate creative one. He is the creator. And so I ask him, I said, Lord, show me what I'm to think, how to be creative, and put that creativeness in me, so when I go to a job that it's in me and it's from you, I can't take the credit because I know you're putting it in me. And my jobs go way more smoother when I pray about it before I go to do something. So I ask you, if you're going to maybe redecorate your house, or we're going to redo your living rooms and family rooms this week, pray and ask God to make you creative. Because some of you think, I'm not creative at all, I can't do this. Well, you know what? You have the same source as I do, and so just pray and ask the Lord to help you. I usually start with the color of an area rug or the main fabric that is in the living room. Say your sofa is usually your main fabric, or the color of the carpet. Now, if it's existing, that's the colors I go with. I go off those. If we're going to determine a whole new look, then we choose a fabric and we determine where we're going to go with it. But usually this is your main color swatch that you work off of. Paint. Let's talk about paint. So paint is one of the most inexpensive ways to dramatically change the color of your room and the look of your room. So when I've chosen this fabric and I pulled out these colors, this is where I'm going to pull these colors from, then I'm going to be choosing my paint colors off of this. When you pick out the color off a paint chart, you need to realize that your paint color will appear darker on your walls than usually what you've picked off of a paint chart. So let's say we have this paint chart. Usually this is about the size of a paint chart. Sometimes they have bigger paint charts. Benjamin Moore carries a bigger swatch there at the paint shop, and this gives you a better idea of what these colors are going to look like. But they don't let you take these home. So usually you're looking at these, and you're thinking, what color do I really like? So let's see here. What color are you guys going to like? Just say we take an orange. That's the worst color to do, Sydney. What am I thinking? What's in? Sage green. Okay, so you take out this color, and you need to realize that the color that you're choosing, if it's a medium to dark color, will usually go darker. Let me see, make sure. It'll appear darker on the walls. You think I'd have this memorized. I get up here and I think, oh! So if you choose this color, and you go to paint it on your walls, it's going to appear darker, and you're going to think, well, why did that not work? So if you choose this color, and this is the color you want, then you need to go and buy this color, the one lighter. Likewise, if you pick a light color, your whites, they usually go lighter on you. So if you want this lighter color here, then you need to choose a darker one, so that looks like the color that you really chose. It's tricky picking out paint. And a lot of times, if you're not quite sure, just go buy a quart of the color that you want, paint it on your walls, and see if that color is going to work on your wall. I usually really recommend color up here in Idaho, because we have the snow and we have the whiteness out there. We need to have color really around us more than we do if we, say, lived by the beach. White houses look great, white interiors look great. But up here, it's a little bit stark feeling because of the winter months that we have. So usually I recommend color. I did a job last year, a couple years ago, and we put this brick red on the walls. And her husband was this rugged mountain-type man guy, and he's funny. And I knew that if we could just get his elk's head in that living room somehow, that he would let us do anything we wanted in this room. So I told him, and he had this big river rock fireplace. I said, man, I see that elk head sitting right there. And he goes, you do? I said, I do. He goes, I've been trying to get that in here for 2 years. And so I said, so his wife goes, oh, great, you know. And so we put the elk head up there. Well, then it made, hey, you can do anything you want to my house now, you know. And so we did. We painted it this real rich brick red color. And it was so funny because the next day her little daughter was in there making tea and sitting in the living room. She goes, oh, Mom. She goes, I feel like I'm sitting in the middle of the Titanic now, you know, because it was just so exciting to her to have this, because all of a sudden the room felt warm and inviting and rich and just really made a big difference. So usually when I meet with clients and they're saying, you know, I'd really like to do this one color, half the time they are really right with their choice of what they want to do. All they need to be given is permission to do it. And so I want to give you permission to go for it. If you're thinking about color, go for it. Because the worst case scenario, what's going to happen? Paint over again. And it's not that big a deal. And half the time you say, oh, wow, this is really fun. A lot of times because we have track homes, that's another situation that we face. They're already painted that Navajo white. And so you go into everybody's home and we have this neutral color palette, and they purposely do that because any of the colors that you're bringing in, they want it to match what you're bringing in. Go ahead and customize the look of your home. And so, you know, even if you go to a light taupe color or something more neutral but has a little bit of warmth to it, go ahead and customize your home. You're going to be much more pleased with your home if you go ahead and take that little bit of a risk and paint. If you do bring a paint home and you're testing it with a quart can and you paint it, you want to make sure that you look at that paint on the wall and look at it, see what it looks like at night and what does it look like in the day, because your colors will change on you. Sometimes a taupe color will go to a little bit of a green cast to it at night or whatever. It just changes on depending on the lighting, or a gray cloudy day will all of a sudden make it have that little bit of blue cast to your paint color, and all of a sudden you think, I don't like that yellow at all. It looks like puck yellow now. And you think, well, why? It looks so good on the sunny day. Well, we got that blue cloudy sunny day, blue cloudy day come over, and all of a sudden that paint of yellow didn't look good. So check out on different lights. Personally, I really recommend an eggshell paint finish. Benjamin Moore carries an eggshell paint finish. It's a scrubbable paint finish. It's in between your flat and going into your semi-glosses. It's a paint that you can wash down your walls. Sometimes if you paint it with flat, you can see where you wash it down. You really can't scrub your walls very good, but this still has a lot of flatness to it, so you can scrub it down. Personally, I use Benjamin Moore paint. I like Benjamin Moore. Most of your interior decorators go with Benjamin Moore paint because their color is really varied. Their colors go deep, and it's a good paint for one. But you can use any paint you want. You do not have to use Benjamin Moore. And if you find something that you like in Benjamin Moore paint and you say, you know what, I really like this color, you could take your swatch to any paint store and they can match up this color, so you don't have to buy just their paint. Or if you have some little napkin that's all floral and you like this one color in it, they can match up to it. So be creative when you find your color that you like. Go ahead and take it in and get the color you want. Furniture arrangements. Furniture is the bone structure of your rooms. So before you arrange your furniture, you wanted to decide, what is my room to be about? What do I want my room to do before? Because let me back here, up here. The furniture is a bone structure of your room, so it's really important how you position these pieces of furniture. But you want to determine, okay, do I like to entertain large groups? Do I like to have intimate conversations and have a cup of tea with my friend and we're sitting close together? How do I want my room to be? I personally entertain more intimately. I entertain large groups, but most of the time it's on an intimate basis. It's more for ministry, So I have my couches facing one another. I don't want any barriers between us when we talk, so I don't have a coffee table. I don't want them to be distracted with the things that are around them, so I don't have a lot of pictures on the walls. But what I do have is the colors and everything else make it warm and inviting and intimate, but I want it to be a one-to-one where I'm looking at my friend and talking and we're being able to communicate with each other. But you might be a person that loves lots of people, and so you're going to push back your furniture back and you're going to have lots of space, and you could say, talk to Sally Mae across the room and you're just jabbering away and you're comfortable with that. However you entertain, you want to think, okay, how do I want my room to feel? You want to find your focal point in your room as you start arranging the bone structure of your furniture in your room. So say you have a really nice fireplace mantel. Usually that's the main focal point of a living room. But if you do not have a fireplace mantel, perhaps a really nice window banks, a bank of windows, or you have a built-in cupboard, or perhaps you have a big piece of art on the wall, you want to move your furniture and position it around this focal point. You want to always consider balance and function of each piece, and balance as far as tall and short pieces go. A lot of times people hang all the pictures in their living room the same level as their buffet unit, and you go around and everything's the same line going all the way across. Well, there's no interest there. You want things that are taller, you want things that are shorter, you want it, when you look at it, it's balanced. And so that's something you want to think about. Unless you're going to a real commercial look and you want it real streamlined and you're purposely doing that, it's good to have different heights in your room. So think about also upholstered pieces versus wood pieces. Is there a mixture of that in your home? I've gone into living rooms where everything has wood legs and nothing that's upholstered to the ground. And it's not inviting. You go in and you think, there's no place that says come and sit, and it's all wood. And so we put upholstered pieces in it down to the ground and then mixed it up, and all of a sudden the room became very inviting. All of a sudden the wood pieces looked really interesting and the upholstered pieces looked interesting, but before everything kind of was the same. You would have mixtures of wood in your house. You don't want to just go with all one wood and all of a sudden it's just the same. Nothing looks special. It's good to have a mixture and make it interesting.
This session with speaker Sidney Londaire will continue on the next side of the tape.